everyone, and welcome back to my studio, the Pottery Corner, down on the south coast of England near Chichester. I'm Sarah Amos. Welcome along everyone. We're doing another kiln glaze fire opening. There's a really impressive piece by one of my students in this kiln today, which I won't say I've been having kittens about getting it through the firing, but obviously when a student has taken a long time to make a piece, I always feel it's my responsibility to then see it through the firing. So we shall see if this enormous piece of Janet's has come through the kiln okay. There are also some pieces from an introduction to throwing course with Lynn and Diane, and various other bits and pieces. I think there's some pumpkins in here as we're getting towards pumpkin season. Okay, so the kiln is cold. I have already turned the kiln supply off. It was cold yesterday. So here we go. Let's get the kiln open and we'll see what we've got. First off is actually one of my little throne bowls. It's just a little thrown cereal bowl, if you like, or whatever, pudding dessert bowl. And I've used a little Ellen, no, it's not a Ellen transfer, it's a Sanbao transfer, which I've cut off of a sheet. So I've just cut the bird off of the sheet, the piece that I wanted to use. And the glaze combination on here is Amaco's Celadon Glaze Cobalt, which is this beautiful deep shiny blue, lovely. Inside is Amaco Fog, and then on the rim I've used Ancient Jasper. Now this piece has actually been through the kiln twice, because on the first firing there were some pinholes on the rim, as you can see, but actually on the second firing it's left them there, so that's a little bit disappointing that I still have those pinholes on the rim. What I will do is put a little bit more Jasper on there and send it through the firing again. But a nice little bowl, pretty, and I love the way that the Jasper pulls on the rims. It just gives them a little bit of interest. So that's one of mine. Next out, this is a candle holder made by Louise, and I'm being very careful with it because it's very delicate. So this has been made in craft crank clay for her to put a candle in the middle here. These are quite difficult to make, and when they go in the kiln they tend to sort of start life slightly more close together at the top, but of course as they're in the kiln and it heats up, it does spread a little bit. So it has spread a little bit, Louise, as I think the last one did. Glaze combination on there is Amaco Storm with Amaco's Palladium just on the flame part, if that's what you want to call it. This is very delicate, and obviously she can put it in the middle of her table with a candle on. So well done, Louise, that's a nice one. She has made one before, so that is the second of those. Now, I've got little bits and pieces in this kiln. It's packed rather differently to normal because of the large piece that's in here. So I'll just get rid of that half shelf and the props. We don't like those. And I've been doing some test tiling. I finally managed to get my hands on some Amaco Ancient Copper. I know that there's quite a lot of supply issues in England with some of the Amaco glazes, because obviously they come over to us from the States, and sometimes it's difficult to get hold of different colours. Amaco Ancient Copper seems to be one. I know it came out quite a long time ago, but I've actually only just got my hands on it. So this is my craft crank clay that I use in the garden, and that is 2 coats of Ancient Copper on that clay body. So it's quite nice. Bit brown, bit 1970s brown for me, but we'll see what we think of it as we get further along. So as I say, I had a couple of ladies at an introduction to throwing course, and this is one of their pieces. So this is Lynn's, and the glaze combination is Amaco Downpour on the back and Amaco's Ice inside. So ice it's almost transparent, but it just has that tinge of blue in it, so it matches quite nicely with the Downpour on the outside. And this is another of Lynn's with the same combination, Downpour and Ice. So that's those two. And I'll get the other half shelf out carefully. Ooh, nice. Right, let's see what we've got. Okay, get the props out. As I say, this is just slightly funnily packed because of the enormous piece that the students made, taking up the majority of this kiln. Right, okay, Jill, this is your little, this again is made in craft crank clay, and she used a seed stalk to make this lovely pattern on the outside, and then has filled it with Amaco's Rainforest and wiped it back so you can almost not see it, but it is very slightly green there. And she's going to use it for a candle on her table in the garden. And on the inside she's used Amaco's Pear. And again, the Amaco glazes come out obviously a different colour on this craft crank body. So I actually have test tiles of all the glazes that we use on craft crank as well as on my usual white earthstone body. So yes, nice piece, little beaker, not bad, pretty, look nice with a candle in it. Next out is a little seed head made by Jane. This unfortunately got attached to something else in the last firing, so we just popped a blob of glaze on it and refired it. That is a cane topper, so it'll go on top of a garden cane. Rather pretty. That one is underglazed in one of the studio underglazes, which I think is called Jaffa, and then that's Marigold over the top. Okay, next, Diane. This is the first of yours. Lovely glaze combination. Look at that, that's pretty. So that is Amaco Sage on the inside, Amaco Sage on this bottom band, and then Amaco's Textured Turquoise on the top edge. Very pretty, lovely, lovely combination. I love that. That's gone really well. So that's a lovely one. And actually there's a nice bit of, a little bit of drag on the rim where those two glazes have sort of mingled with each other. A lovely piece. Well done, Diane. That's really nice. Lovely combination of glazes on there. And then these are the other two of Lynn's, and this combination is Amaco Glacier. Oh no, sorry, beg pardon. Amaco's Fog on the outside and Amaco's Glacier on the inside. That one and this one, the other one. So that one is Glacier on the inside, Amaco Fog on the outside. Very pretty. Love. Again, that's a really good combination because the two are very similar in colour, and actually that looks really nice in combination. So that's a good combo. I've done another test tile of the ancient copper, and this is what's interesting about glazes and clay bodies. You know, as I was saying, this is craft crank with 2 coats of copper, and this is my usual white earthstone original body with 2 coats of copper, and the difference is really quite startling. That's had a lovely crystal formation on the surface of that glaze, very nice. And I know that my friend Karen has used it on some of her pieces, and she said that to get this crystal formation from ancient copper, it has to be on its own. You can't layer it and then get that crystal formation quite so well. So anybody else used ancient copper, pop me a note in the comments and tell me how you're getting on with it. But I think that's pretty nice, isn't it? Yeah, interesting, an interesting finish on there, really nice. So yes, we shall do a little bit more with that and see what happens. There are a couple of just underglaze test tiles. So when I make a new underglaze upstairs, I use the underglaze medium from Jane Scott Ceramics, and then I use my own pigments to make my own underglaze colours, and then I make a test tile so that students can see what it looks like. And then when I've bisque fired the test tile, I put transparent glaze just on one side so they can see what it looks like unglazed. and glazed with transparent. Those are quite useful up in the studio. Right, this is one of mine. Interesting. Now this is Mayco's Moonscape, which is a lovely matte glaze and has glass in the glaze. So it's really very, very pretty. I've used Amaco Snow inside, and the eagle-eyed of you will note that I clearly had one tiny piece of glass which made its way onto the inside of the mug, either when I was putting it in the kiln or as I was glazing it. So there is a spot in the bottom. I've used a spiral handle. There's a video on how to make the spiral handles on the channel if you'd like to take a look. But a lovely glaze. Now this is 2 coats of Mayco's Moonscape. I find if you use 3 coats, it changes the lovely dusty blue into more of this white colour. So I guess it really depends what sort of a effect you're trying to achieve. But I find that 2 coats or lesser coats are better with Moonscape. But that's really pretty, isn't it? Lovely glaze. Lovely. I have used it before, but it's one that kind of sits on the shelf and I tend to ignore. But I used it on something else the other day and thought, oh yes, that's rather nice. So a nice mug. Yeah, pretty. Very pretty. Like that. Okay, pumpkins. Now, these are rather beautiful. These, Louise, are yours. Is there a set of 3 of those? So there's that one, and presumably that one. Yes, there is. So this is a set of pumpkins made by Louise. Look at these. These are beautiful. Really lovely glaze combination on those. Look. So these are just pinch pot pumpkins, and we've weighed the clay to make a graded set, so they're slightly different sizes. But the glaze is absolutely beautiful. Look at those. Really lovely. And I'll tell you in a moment what the combination is. So that's the first one. That's the second one. It's actually an interesting combination and not one that I would have been able to guess. Really, really lovely. Absolutely super, those are, Louise. Really, really nice. Lovely. Beautiful glaze combination. Really stunning. So those are, I'll pop them on the top here so that you can see them in their glory. I've actually pinched Louise's glaze book from upstairs, and I do encourage my students to keep a glaze book so that they know what they've used, because very often if you are using these glazes in combination, layering or mixing, it's difficult to know what they were. And as I say, this is not what I would have expected from this combination of glazes. So there is 1 good coat of Amaco Ironstone on the bottom, and then 2 coats of iron yellow over the top, with ancient Jasper on the stalk, quite a lot of it to allow it to run, which is exactly what the Jasper has done. But there's blue on here. Look at that. And that's just from Ironstone and iron yellow. Really, really pretty. Lovely, lovely glaze combination. Really good heather colours in there. Those are stunning, Louise. Really, very, very nice. So I'm sure she'll be delighted when she sees those. I would be. Those are gorgeous. And then there's one of my little solitary pumpkins in here, which I have to say I wish I'd used Louise's combination, because mine isn't half as pretty as hers. And mine has stuck to the cookie. As we've talked about before, I use these little bisque cookies underneath everything that I fire, just in case. Well, I was right to do that in this case, because I think you'll probably be able to see that that glaze is stuck on there. And that on there is, she says, trying desperately to remember the glaze combination. And I might have to go and look in my book. I will put it up later. I think I know what it is, but I'm not absolutely sure. So I'll put it on the screen for you. But on the top, on the stalk, is definitely Amaco's Ancient Copper. And that has worked really well on that stalk. Very nice indeed. And I actually put quite a lot on to try and get it to sort of pull down. And in fact, it has done that. So it's a very pretty pumpkin. but not as nice as Louise's. So guess what combination I shall be using for the rest of them. Very, very pretty nonetheless. Right, now in the bottom of this kiln is a piece that Janet has been working on for many weeks. And I'm just a little bit worried about lifting it out of the kiln. So let's be gentle with it. But I'd like to introduce you to Janet's masterpiece. I'm just going to turn it round so that it comes out to you facing the right way. Get my hands underneath it. Look at this. I mean, honestly, talk about magnificent. Look at this. This is a Scottish castle that Janet has made for one of her sisters. It's actually in two pieces, and I'm just going to have to tap it to get the lid off so that she can actually put some electric lighting inside. But I mean, what a monster of architectural building with slabs. This is made in craft crank clay. She's used underglazes on the black decoration here, and then on the roof is Amaco's Obsidian, and on the stonework she's used just one coat of Amaco's Oatmeal. So really very, very nice, and I'm just going to put it down. Wowzer, what a thing. It's very heavy, but I mean, what a marvellous piece. Let's close the kiln and pop it back across onto the top of the kiln so that you can get a good look at it. And as I say, it's in two pieces, so you always have to fire things that are in two pieces together and then hope that with a tap they will actually come apart. So that is my mission for a bit later, to actually get this into two pieces. But Janet, what a feat of clay engineering. I really hope that you can see it in all its wonderful glory. I mean, look at it. That is a terrific, terrific piece. Absolutely wonderful. I mean, it took her weeks to make it, and the finish is beautiful. Really, really beautiful. So well done, Janet. That is a masterpiece of clay building, as I say. A really good project that's taken her many weeks to do. So as a result of that, obviously, although I must say that Louise's pumpkins are beautiful, but sorry, Louise, I'm going to give Student of the Week this week to Janet for this masterpiece. I mean, look at it. What can I say? I'm not even sure that I would have taken the time and the skill to make this piece. So Janet, well done. It's absolutely beautiful. That's really good. Okay, so I've had some lovely messages from you all this week as well. I shall have to put my glasses on because of course I'm blind as a bat. So lovely, lovely messages from you. This one is from Joyce Fisher, and she has sent me a picture of a hand-built mug that she has texturized herself, and she was inspired to make the mug by watching the Wonky Pot tutorial, and I'll stick a link up to the Wonky Pot tutorial at the end if you want to head over and have a look at that. So she said she loves and subscribes to my YouTube channel. She didn't do a Wonky Pot, but she was inspired by the ideas, so she made a wonky mug. I think that's lovely. It was fun to make, and I'll make some more. So thank you, Joyce, for sending me a picture of your mug. Much appreciated. Rather like that, hand-built. Next one that I've received is from Catherine Ostergreen, and I think Catherine's I think you're in Sweden, Catherine, I believe. She's got a couple of bits that she's drying out. She said they've taken ages. So one of them is a sculptural poppy head. And again, there is a playlist of the sculptural poppy heads and how to make them on the channel. And I love this one. So this is still greenware, but this is Catherine's Wonky Pot. Look at the feet. And I was saying about making them look like animal feet. They look great, don't they? Lovely texture on there, beautiful. And I just love the characterful feet. So well done, Catherine, that's really lovely. And hopefully you'll send us a picture of that once it's glazed and I can show people how it came out when it was finished. And the last one for this week is from Fiona Tomlin. So she sent me a picture of her Wonky Pots, which are now out of the kiln. They are a little wonkier than planned. Well, you know, there's always degrees of wonky in my opinion, but I had immense fun making and glazing them. And she said, that's what I love about pottery, the uniqueness of each piece. And you're absolutely right. Fiona's in Melbourne, in Australia, which remains in lockdown. But she's hoping to come out of lockdown around the end of October. And these are her Wonky Pots. Look at these are great. So she's done some on sort of stubby feet to make them slightly shorter. And then she's got one that's up on the tripod legs like we have done in the Wonky Pot tutorial. And again, they're lovely, beautiful texture on them again. You know, you really can make your Wonky Pots unique to you. So well done, Fiona. We're thinking of you in lockdown down there in Australia, and I'm quite sure that we will be experiencing some of the same when we get to winter over here in England. Right, so that is your lot for today. I am just about to embark on the filming of the making a bird bath. So there will be, I'm going to probably do it in 3 stages as I make the bird bath. So watch out for that. If you haven't seen it, it'll come up over the next few weeks. In the meantime, send me pictures of your projects. I just love to receive images of your own things that you've made.